Melissa Urban comes out with this post for Whole30. And she says, hey, based on new science, all seed oils of any form are now accepted in Whole30. What comes up for you knowing the pain of your family and what they've gone through when seed oils were pushed into her body? And then to have Melissa Urban with whatever, I'm not saying she's an evil person. I'm actually not here, y'all, to put down Melissa Urban. I'm not. And I interviewed her in the past. But I just wonder, there has to be a moment in her psyche and in her heart where she had to pause with curiosity and say, is this the right thing to do? Or is this financially motivated because my meals are coming out in Costco? Mm-hmm. What's the real truth here? Like, what came up for you specifically when you saw that post?
Yeah, I mean, one, I would be stunned if behind the scenes there's not a heavy financial incentive there.
There absolutely has to be.
Yeah.
How could there not be?
Yeah, and the challenge that I issue, I said this once about Layne Norton, and I said, if you can get me, Layne, to sit in a room with me, and I tell the story of Savannah. Now, let's say we go back and Savannah's 4 weeks old, and they've just installed this G-tube. And I say, hey, man, you seem real confident about the settled science on seed oils. Totally safe for humans. Not only safe, but beneficial for humans. Now, you tell me we're going to make 90% of this baby's diet seed oils. Confidence, scale of 1 to 10. If he answers 10, this is a completely dishonest, disingenuous human being that we're dealing with. Like, this is a problem. This is a guy who is like, my ego is more important than this child. Me being right and not backpedaling on statements that I've made publicly is more important than Savannah's life. Now you got to analyze what kind of people you want to take advice from. You have to decide who you're going to let be the authority in your life. I think the number one reason for the healthcare epidemic that we have is the illusion of authority and us not listening to our own authority. I don't need a randomized control trial to tell me I don't need to pump seed oils into the belly of Savannah. I don't need that. I mean, it's insane, right? So we're in this situation where the science, right? It's like Casey and Callie Means on Capitol Hill. There's like 50,000 studies in the last, 2 to 5 years funded by the NIH that are all in favor of ultra-processed foods. If you call yourself evidence-based and you decide, the science has decided, here is what the science says. If you have not yet realized that every single generation ever living thinks the science is settled, thinks that they know the most, the people who were spraying DDT on children a few decades ago also thought the science was settled. If you have not realized yet that science in America is a marketing funnel and a propaganda machine for a for-profit system, if you have not realized that yet, I don't know what to tell you. You are literally a child who is like, yes, daddy, please tell me what I am allowed to say and what I am not allowed to say. Mm-hmm. And you're also putting your identity into your credentials. So this happens all the time. Guys like us that are like doing our own research and coming out and saying like, hey, look, listen, there's thousands of people that I've helped. They've tattooed my brand on their skin because they've had such a transformation from the information I'm giving them. But you're telling me I'm misinformation and I'm dangerous and I should listen to you because you have credentials. And then the conversation shifts when I tell them the authority that handed you your credentials, the perceived authority, I don't believe in it. I think it is a completely corrupt, horrible system that is designed to maximize profits. So the textbooks you learn from are brainwashing programming for you. It's no different than Herbalife. Herbalife says, our science says we have the best supplements. And then they give it to housewives and they say, now host parties and tell your friends that Herbalife is the way to do it. That's what the medical system is. We're going to give you credentials that convince people you are the arbitrator of good information and you are the authority that can tell them how to be healthy. Now go sell our products. If you can't see that, if you can't do what Casey Means did, which is say, holy shit, I'm part of a toxic system that's hurting people, I need to do something different, then I don't know what to tell you because your ego is more important than people's lives. That's what's happening.
And maybe the gift that Melissa Urban is giving us is by showing us, because I don't know what it's like to be at her level. I mean, there's probably an 8, maybe even 9-figure deal
for sure
knocking on her door with Costco.
Sure.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, I assume.
Yeah.
I can have compassion and practice non-judgment with her and say, wow, what would I do?
Yeah.
Could I say no to $100 million? I mean, I'm sitting here with you now and I'm saying, fuck yeah, I could say no.
Yeah,
I'm not going to poison people. What the fuck?
Yeah.
But if somebody showed up with that much money on my doorstep that could guarantee legacy wealth for multiple generations, who am I to say what I would do at that time? I hope that my spiritual practice and my maturity would allow me to stay in integrity, because that's everything to me.
Yeah.
Yet, I think what she's showing us, and I wonder how you feel about this, because I know you have a relationship with her, and maybe you've even talked to her about this. I mean, hopefully
not yet.
you haven't.
No.
Hopefully, look, I want us to be as authentic and real as possible. So please don't hold back, right? Like, people really deserve the truth here. What I can make sense of this as would be she's showing us an aspect of reality that is what happens when someone becomes disconnected to their center or disconnected to their purpose. And again, I'm not here to shit all over this woman. You know, when I remember I met her in 2009 at like the first Paleo FX.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, she's so cool. And I still feel that way about Melissa. I think just like feminism, just like all movements, they all start out with good intentions, but then they become corrupted and compromised by the energy of, let's just call it demonic evil. Because that's really what taking advantage of others is. When you know you're going to harm somebody, even if there's a shred of doubt in your soul that your actions may harm someone, and you still go through it and you still do it. I'm not here to judge her, but I am going to say, how could you not see that part of her acting out God and God dreaming through her in that way? I just don't see how anybody couldn't see it, right? On the screen right now is one of the meals, and it says olive oil now. Now, we don't know if in that olive oil there's other agents that because it's not organic. None of the Whole30 meals that are sold in Costco, and again, it's on the screen right now, none of these ingredients are organic. So we know that there's pesticides, fungicides, all kinds of crap in this food to begin with. And she's knowingly peddling that. So how do you sleep at night there? Then how do you sleep at night knowing the massive amounts of research that seed oils destroy people? And how could you stand on social media and make a satire of a boat that says like seed oil? She made a satire of it, which shows me from a psychological level that she's aware, because she wouldn't satire herself unless she was trying to join the party of making fun of herself. If she were to just come out calm, cool, and collected and say, hey, listen, I understand people might not agree with me here. This is the research that's been done. If she would have said, I'm open to changing my mind and been humble, that's a more trustworthy leader. But the fact that she's so adamant, and she actually says the phrase, which is the same thing she said during COVID when she was guilting and shaming people for not getting the jab. She actually said, I believe it because it's science. And she said it like a dart on a dart. It's science. That's why I trust it. So science has become her God, and she's disconnected from God because God, no way in the purity of love, would allow her soul to express itself in this way. What came up for you when this happened?
I wasn't that surprised, honestly.
Why?
Starting early in this world and seeing a lot of people build $100,000s of dollars in their business, then millions, and then tens of millions, and then hundreds of millions. It's all kind of cute, especially coming from the world of consulting, where I was like starting off working with Fortune 500, Fortune 100 companies. It's like these games, the people who are involved in them, the companies that they're leading, may feel very big to the people who are involved. But if you decide to go in the direction of scale and you change your definition of what you're up to and what you represent, is it all for naught? Is a question that I would ask, because I have seen it become all for naught for a number of the early leaders in this movement, right? And I'm also fortunate to have gotten in early and met a lot of people at the first Paleo FX and the first ancestral, or one of the early ancestral health symposiums at Harvard back in the day, like I think 2012, and met so many wonderful people who seemed quite mission aligned, you know? And for me, it's funny because like the world of vegetable oils and seed oils, I was working in as a consultant with major food and beverage companies, as well as principally in alternative energy. Like I worked on a big biodiesel project that essentially took fry-later oil and seed oils and used it as fuel in the alternative energy economy. This is back in the 2000s, you know?
The actual fuck.
Yeah. Putting it into boats,
my God.
because boats can run on diesel. So can cars. I bought an old Mercedes diesel, converted it to run on vegetable oil, drove it around the country for 3 months, and used it as my main car. Every time I stopped at a stoplight, it smelled like fried chicken because we were using spent fry-later oil One of my first videos before I ever put out a podcast was about how this is seed oils. This is how it's made. It's me driving in my old Mercedes, and I'm driving on this shit right now. I would never eat it, though. I would never eat it again. I wouldn't put it in my body, not on purpose. Obviously, it's not always 110% in my own life. We all have to make exceptions here and there. If you go to a restaurant, you're traveling or whatever, a little bit here and there, I don't think is the end of the world. But if you're saying that this is food, you're incorrect. It's gear oil. This is an industrial product. And so many industrial products have found ways to weasel themselves into our foods, our drinks, our environment, all the rest of it. So if you're making hundreds of millions of dollars to sacrifice everything that you've ever stood for around the world of real food. I thought what Whole30 was about eating real food for 30 days, right? Which I can get behind that. If you're super strict about it, though, I mean, our approach was Whole30 was over here on the super strict category, right? And so were some other like leaders in the health space and people writing books and doing lectures and or starting their own companies, whatever it was. We were more kind of in the middle where it's like, aim for this, aim for real food, fruits, veg, and high quality meats. Make that, the fundamental way that you eat. Avoid the newfangled stuff, the seed oils, the flours, the artificial nonsense, all that. And so if now, Whole30 is coming over here, but it's like seed oils are okay. Like there's no flexibility on other parts of the strictness, but like seed oils, totally cool now. I look at that and I say, in my mind, like, so you were either wrong for 10 plus years, telling everyone that you were right and getting a lot of money to do so, or you're wrong now, and now you're making a lot of money telling people the wrong thing. And I am amazed by the tolerance or the short memory of folks who are out there who just pile on. It's like, come on in, the water's fine. Seed oils are great again. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are good for you. Eggs are bad for you. Eggs are good for you. If you can keep going back and forth with your brand and stamp your stuff on anything that shows up in the grocery store, make lots of money doing so, what exactly are you fucking doing here? Right? Like what? Why are you here? Why is anyone paying attention to you? And when you, reach the end of your life and you're kind of like looking back over everything that happened, it's like, what did I do here? And I've had a lot of interesting conversations post-pandemic with people, especially in the music and creative fields as well. And this like really makes me emotional where they're just like, man, I'm 58 years old and I feel like I've never done anything in my life. I feel like I've never really done the thing. Like, what have I contributed here? So I'm going to start a band and do my thing now. I've seen a few people do that in the past few years. And I love that. But, the story of people like getting too big for their britches, pursuing money, power, fame, the rest of it, it's fucking predictable. And so when I see it happen, it's a huge bummer. I lose a lot of respect for the people who kind of like make that call. I'm sure that everyone has reasons, and usually it's money. And money is cute, but it's not real. It's not real, especially when you start talking about that amount of money with a human sacrifice on the other side. What the fuck are you doing? Is what I thought. And I just kind of giggled about it because now there are other people. I think this is tragic because she and many others are leaders, right? And people follow the leader. So even other intellectuals, scientists, really smart people are also piling on. They're like, vegetable oils, totally cool now. Buy my new book.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Mic fucking drop. Okay.
Yeah.
Whoa. So you love that episode? You'll love the one on the screen. Click it and enjoy.